Well, hi. So, how much do you know about wine? In particular, how much do you know about your wine that you drink? And if I was to ask you, can you write out all the ingredients that are in wine? What would your answer be? It would probably be grapes, um, alcohol, and maybe sulfites, because I'm sure most of us have read that our wine does contain sulfites. But what is really in our wine? Because wine doesn't really have an ingredient label, does it? Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sherry and I'm a holistic health coach working with midlife women. So I'm a health coach, but you know what? I love wine, and my background is in wine. I have an advanced certification in wine, and I worked in the wine industry for many, many years, including owning a wine store here in New York City. One of the big conversations that I've always had with people in wine is the sulfite conversation. And I can do a whole another video just on sulfites, and I'm not going to really dive into sulfites today, but I want to dive more into what isn't included in our wine labels. Now, one thing that you might not be aware of is there is a government issued list. It's called the GRAS list, so GRAS. It stands for Generally Recognized as Safe, and I have to always say that title in itself scares me a little bit, right? It's just generally recognized as safe, like shouldn't really be that harmful. But so on this list is over 72 chemicals and additives that winemakers are completely and legally allowed to add to the wine without claiming it on their label. So the first ingredient that isn't on that label, and I really believe it should be, it is called Mega Purple. So this is a colorant added to a lot of commercially produced red wines, and its job is to give the wine just that beautiful, rich, gorgeous, lush red color that we're so used to. And I think it's one of those, I think it's important as the consumer to know that a colorant has been added to our wine. The second ingredient that should be on wine labels is the yeast and where the yeast was actually sourced from. So very, very quickly, the best way I've always described how wine is made is you have grapes, and you crush them into a must, and you get the juices, and you go ahead, you add yeast. The yeast go ahead and consume the sugar that's in the grape, and then as a byproduct of that is they produce alcohol and carbon dioxide. Where do the yeast come from? So if you're a natural winemaker, you use what's considered natural or ambient yeast, and that's the yeast that's just naturally found out in the vineyard, flying around sort of in the air of the winery, and it kind of makes sense. It's, it goes together. This is the yeast that is living in harmony with that grape in that vineyard. But there is actually a book of GMO yeast. I think it's got to be like this thick, maybe who knows thicker, and it literally has yeast after yeast after yeast that's been genetically modified. And as a winemaker, you can go ahead and choose the yeast you'd like based on the properties you want to profile in your wine. So it can add different flavor profiles, it can add different textures, and it can really, in my words, manipulate the end product of the wine. And I think as consumers, we should be made aware of if the wine we're drinking has been manufactured with GMO yeast. And then the final ingredient that I really think should be listed on a wine label is what material is used to fine the wine. So one of the processes that some winemakers choose to use, it's called fining. It's the best way to describe it. It's like polishing the wine. It gives it some nice clarity. It can give it a little bit more roundness. It's like polishing your silverware. It's just going to make it a little bit brighter and taste usually a little bit better. I'm a natural wine person, so I kind of like the unfined wines. But the products that they can use, there's a multitude of materials that they can use to fine the wine, but some of the main ones that they use, there is egg whites. I'm just saying, some people are allergic to eggs. Would be nice to know that. There is something that's derived from fish bladder, which is called isinglass. Some people are allergic to fish. I think that'd probably be good to know. Casein, which is derived from milk. Just gonna say, some people are, insensitive to dairy. And then, oh shoot, what was the final one? Gelatin, which is derived from also an animal byproduct. So a lot of these, if you're vegan or vegetarian, not good. I think that what they're using to fine the wine should be on the label from a combination of being respectful of someone's dietary choice, or being even more respectful of if a person is highly allergic or sensitive to one of these items. So that's what I think should be on a wine list. There's a lot of discussion around if wines should be labeled and if they should be, what they should include. We will leave that to the professionals to hash out. But until next time, I'm going to say peace and love. And I'm going to remind you, if you haven't already, join my Facebook group. It's fabulous. Just head over to Facebook and under groups, search for Happy Vibes Health and come join us and take part in all the fun that we have there. All right, peace and love.